Hi, this is Adrian Mobilia with Weld Store Fixtures.
I'm Tom Gibbons with Weld Store Fixtures, and today I'm going to assist Adrian in showing you how to assemble a starter unit of our shelving unit.
Great, thanks Tom. The first thing you guys are going to want to do is identify the parts you're going to need to build the starter unit. And typically that would require two uprights, which we call gables, which are these components here. You're also going to need one pair of anti-sway braces, which are these. Make sure the turnbuckles are still connected to the rods. You're going to need one shelf for the top. It doesn't have to be a wire shelf. That's what we're going to use today. And you're going to need one shelf for the bottom of the fixture. In this case, we're going to use a wood-based shelf with a front kick plate and a back bar to support it. What this does is it's going to give you two uprights, a top member, a bottom member, and the anti-sway braces to make an X at the back to pull against those. The one tool you'll need during this process is some sort of bubble level. The longer the better, 4 feet would be ideal, but these little 2-foot ones work as well, especially if you're doing short fixtures. If you were doing something 10 or 12 feet tall, you'd probably want to find yourself a 4-foot level. Now that you have all the parts required, and you've got a space available to you to build it, and you're going to need the one helper. In this case, I'm going to use Tom. You've got everything you need to get started. Okay, now that we're ready to build, first thing we're going to do is get our two gables. And the first step we have to do is identify the top and bottom. Although it may not look like it, there is a dedicated top and bottom. And the eye probably won't be able to tell them apart, so we've gone ahead and put markings on it. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find on the binding, which is this piece. This is the mesh, this is the binding. On your binding, you're going to want to look about 2 inches down from the top and see if there is a B stamped into the metal. In this case, it is here. If it wasn't there, you would flip it this way and look here. You're going to want to find that on both uprights. What that means is the B's would go together. Whether you put them at the top or put them at the bottom, you want to stay consistent throughout your whole run and keep them together. If by chance, and it does happen from time to time, that the paint fills in the B and you really can't tell, or if it was a taller upright and there was an emergency and someone cut and that end happened to be the end that got cut off to make them a shorter fixture, and there is no B, you still want to get it right. So we go back to a method where we use to level the line wires. And the line wires are the horizontal wires. What you would do is you just stand the two gables next to each other, and you would look to see if their wires are level. To be sure you have them level, go ahead and rotate that one, Tom. And check them both ways and pick the way that's more level. And you'll see that way is perfect. Now that we've identified that we're going to stay consistent and use these as our tops, we want to space the gables about 3 feet apart because we're going to build a 3-foot wide fixture. Now one thing to note here is the horizontal wires on my upright are on the inside of the upright. On his, they're on the outside of the upright. That is correct. You want them to all face one direction. Go ahead and turn this around to show them what it looks like when it's incorrect. In this particular setup, both of the horizontal wires are on the inside of the verticals. And that means your critical distance would be slightly less than 36 inches. And if we both spun around and the horizontal wires were both facing out, the critical dimension would be slightly more than 36 inches. So we want to just keep one of them this way and have them both face the same way. So there we have it. So Tom, if you come around back and hold them both, you'll need someone to hold them both up. And the first thing you can do is take these plastic caps. On your pack list, you'll identify these as GECs. They're called gable end caps. We're going to put these on the bottom, so when this unit's assembled, you have the ability to slide this around and not tear up the carpet or scratch the floor. Very simple to do. The notch goes in. Just take it here. Then we do the other one. Okay, thank you. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our top member in. As you recall from earlier, so we're going to use a flat top shelf. We're going to take the shelf and we're going to put the hooks over top the 4 outside wires. Now that we've connected the two, Tom can let go with one hand and he can manipulate the unit left to right like that. Now it'll still fall down, so he can't let go altogether. The next thing we're going to do is install our base shelf. We're going to use a BBRB at the back. We're going to come up to the second wire up. Now we have to space these apart and then bring it back in. At the front, we're going to use a BBRB KB, which is the same part with this 3-inch return at the front. Again, second wire up, bring it in. And now to finish this, we're going to take our wood shelf, the rough edge will go at the back. We're going to set it in and then drop it in place. And now what we have the 2 uprights, a top member and a bottom member. He's holding it with one hand that'll still move, but he can't let go, it could still fall down. This is where the anti-sway braces and the level come into play. We hand the person holding the unit the level. They're going to always put the level on the back binding like Tom did there. You never want to level the front. Always want to do the back because that's where these will be installed and what we're pulling against. And you also want to make sure that no one else is touching the fixture. If I have a hand on it or a third party has a hand on it, they're pulling it around and he's trying to level it and you'll end up fighting each other. So one person touches the fixture with only one hand. Your turnbuckles are going to go at the bottom and we're going to install these. The top hooks are going to go in this gap between the first full square and the binding. So we're going to put this one in here. So I'm going to put it on top. I'm going to put this one in. And now that I've done that, I'm going to come down to the bottom. And he's going to tell me if I pull the fixture out of level. And now that they're in and they're loose, he's going to hold it right where level is. And then I'm going to tighten these with the turnbuckles until it's snug. Are we level?
Right there.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Now, one important note when you're tightening the turnbuckles, A, you don't need to put a wrench or screwdriver through there and crank down on it. You only do finger tighten. And B, all you're trying to do is get rid of the slack so you have a straight line. You don't need to keep tightening after you get the line straight. That one really didn't need much of a turn at all. Now at this point, Tom can let go. And we have a unit that's standing on its own and it's pretty sturdy. That is now your starter unit.